Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stock Market Show. This is your host, Shades. As always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm dancing my head back and forth, side to side. But no, seriously.
I told you not to sell.
In this video, we are going to go over Bitcoin, Mara stock, ARKB ETF, and of course Riot stock. Let's talk about what's happening here on the higher time frames. Bitcoin, let's look at what happened in the past year. We went to a new high, pulled back, went to that same resistance level. And what happened there? What happened? We created a double top, a bearish pattern that sends prices lower, and that's exactly what played out. One could even say that was a head and shoulders. We can grab our head and shoulders tool. Let me see, where is it? There's the shoulder, there's the head, and a lower shoulder. Oops. Well, I think, there we go. There we go. There you go. You can call it a head and shoulders, or you can call it a double top. If you're using Moomoo, then you should be able to do this very easily. So either or, doesn't matter. That's what happened last time. If we take a closer look, when we finally broke out above 65K, we went to a high of 73 from a low of 13K, which I remember people thought it was the end of the world, and look where it is now. So here it formed a pennant, flag, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you want to call it. It's a bullish pattern that sends prices higher. That's what we would expect out of this consolidation period after this big pump. And you guys know me, I like abusing what? I like abusing patterns. I see pattern, I have to abuse it. So we break out to new highs, 109K. And then, of course, we pull back. We pulled back here. The last time we pulled back, let me grab my, this is going to be very technical. We pulled back from 72 to a low of 49, 32%. Really? We dropped 32% that time. Interesting. I didn't think we'd drop that much, 32%. So from the high of 109, from the recent high to the low, we dropped, surprise, surprise, about 32 to 33%. And we're seeing pretty much the same pattern, right? Flag, pennant, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's a pullback in the longer term time frame. This is the monthly chart, just to be clear. This doesn't mean it's gonna, skyrocket to the moon in a week or in a day. Too many people, they look at the lower time frames, not liar time frames. Liar time frames. Imagine there was time frames that just lie to you. They give you the wrong info. But anyways, isn't that interesting, right? The patterns that show up, it pulled back about the same amount, 32%-ish. And not only that, but if we do the opposite here and measure how much of a potential move we could get here, if it does indeed break out higher, so from low to high was a 120% move. It moved from 50 to 100K. So if history is going to repeat itself, just hypothetically, right? It's not going to be one for one, but hypothetically, I mean, from low to high, 100% would be, let's move it up a little, 100% would be a move from the low down here of 75 to 150K, which is my personal price target, where I'm looking to sell. Again, this is assuming we repeat the pattern, and it's very obvious now that I've shown you, right? But easier said than done. What if this is the time we get a double top? What if this is the time we get a head and shoulders, right? What if we repeat this here? Because technically speaking, we could have said, hey, it's about to break out and go higher. we're going to 100K, woo, right? But that's not what happened. Instead, we double topped and tanked. You can, again, call it a head and shoulders. So the question here is this going to be a double top and we tank? Is history going to repeat itself like that? Or are we going to get a... Are we going to get a... This would be... Oops, this would be a shoulder. There's the head, and maybe we get a shoulder here. I don't know. That's a very, very wonky one. No, that doesn't make sense. If anything, it would have to be... No, that doesn't make sense. It would have to be... Let me look at the quarterly and see what that reveals. No. Let me look at the weekly and see if that reveals anything. Any patterns? So that was a double top here. Okay, so what? Yeah. So the question is this going to be a double top and then we tank and pull back to 75K, or is this going to break out higher? That is the big question here. Because we're headed to highs again. If this happens, the question is double top or is it going to be a breakout to 150K? So that's just showing you the higher time frames here, what's happening. But over the long term, if we look at the quarterly, what do you see? The stock just keeps going higher. Every red quarter is nothing more than a dip buying opportunity. The last time we dipped red on a quarter, we had a nice big green candle to follow, and then we skyrocketed, right? So again, big red candle, big red quarter, you buy the dip, you're not scared. You buy the sell-off, the fear. Big green quarter, is the next quarter going to be a big green candle? And on the yearly chart, you can see very clearly, Bitcoin just continues to skyrocket higher. Over the long term, again, the yearly chart. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. Too many people, they mistake me for one of those traders that just keeps track of the lower time frames. I don't even look at anything below the daily. I don't care. I do what works for me as a swing trader. So on the daily, oops, we got to reset it. On the daily, we're at a critical point where we would expect a pullback here, honestly, after this run here. We would expect a pullback, but if we continue to see strength, we're going to 100K plus. In fact, if we break out here, we're going to 100K plus at that point. So, for those of you who are in the Discord, I did buy Riot stock, of course, right? And then I sold it off. I sold it off yesterday. I sold it off at break even. I got out. And a lot of people were confused, like, wait, what do you mean you got out? Why did you get out? And I'm like, I didn't get out because I don't believe in Bitcoin. I got out because I moved over to ARKB. I essentially took the money out at break even and rotated into ARKB. ARKB is a Bitcoin ETF that follows Bitcoin's price movement. So when Bitcoin is at 97,000, ARKB is at $97. When Bitcoin skyrocketed from a low of 75 to 108,000, ARKB went from 75 to 108. So I've kind of realized, like, hey, yes, I could buy the Bitcoin mining stocks and get exposure to Bitcoin's movement that way, yes. But at the same time, it comes with the risk of you're holding a company. A Bitcoin mining company like Riot or Mara, it's a company. There's a CEO behind it. There's risk there. There are risk factors there. And I never took those into consideration, mainly because the ARKB and the ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, they didn't exist. They didn't exist back then when I first was swing trading the Bitcoin miners for money. Because obviously I'm not going to buy Bitcoin itself. It's better to buy the Bitcoin miners to get more percentage return more than anything because the Bitcoin miners are cheaper. Now, if history were to repeat, I mean, you still stand to make the same amount, right? It's still, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. At least that's what it seems like, right? I'm showing you the monthly chart. It's the same thing. It hit a low of 50, went to a high of 100K. And if history were to repeat, if Bitcoin itself goes to 150K, then we would expect this, which follows it T for T. We would expect this to also make a move to 150, which would mean 100%. In fact, if I don't see why you wouldn't go with ARKB over the Bitcoin mining stocks. Again, the difference between ARKB and Bitcoin mining stocks, and let me explain this because a lot of people were confused, like, wait, so you just took your money out of Riot stock and just moved it over to ARKB? And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I did. because this one, as you can see here, I have this blue line here. That's Bitcoin. I have that overlaid. It moves literally 1 for 1. 1 for 1. The ARKB ETF follows Bitcoin 1 for 1. Whereas if we look at Riot stock, which is the one that I was holding, I know some of you are holding CLSK or the other ones, BF or EBIT or whatever. If we look at Riot stock, what do you see? Well, this is Bitcoin. It continues to go higher on the monthly, or yes, there's that double top that we talked about, then it continues to go higher. But Riot stock, these Bitcoin miners, what have they been doing? They've just been going sideways. And really, I bought Riot because I'm like, well, I want to make money in the bull run when things go back to, new highs or back to their old highs for this stock specifically, because this just goes sideways and always goes back to $15 and $20. But it's just been going sideways, right? In the same time frame that Bitcoin has been going higher, Riot stock is just going sideways. These Bitcoin miners are just going sideways. Mara stock, same thing. It's just been going sideways. So you do get the exposure to Bitcoin, yes. When Bitcoin skyrockets, usually Mara Riot, they skyrocket as well. But again, you're holding a company, anything could happen, right? It could have bad earnings and it just never recovers. Whereas ARKB, by rotating my money into ARKB, what am I saying? I'm saying I still believe in Bitcoin. And I kind of want to have the safety of not having to worry about earnings, not have to worry about a CEO opening their big mouth and saying something they shouldn't. Kind of like when NVIDIA, opened their big mouth and the stock dropped, right? So by rotating my money into ARKB, I'm removing all those risks. There's risk factors, I identified them, and now that we have the Bitcoin ETFs, like, wait, well, if I just want 1 for 1, ARKB is perfect, right? As I just showed you. And ARKB, as you can see, follows it to a T. Bitcoin keeps going higher, ARKB keeps going higher. It comes at a trade-off, of course, because you're not going to make as much as someone who's trading the, cheaper stocks. Bitcoin, it can go to 150K, but Riot stock can go from the low of $6 to 18. And you can get 300% versus just a 100%er. That's assuming you time the absolute bottom on Bitcoin, which is not the case. At most, we're going to shoot for 50%. Whereas Riot, Mara, yes, they're riskier, but they come with the benefit of more potential percent return. So that's kind of the trade-off, right? Like, damn, I'm going to make less, but hey, I don't got to worry about no earnings. I don't got to worry about no CEO. There's no dilution. And then I don't use ChatGPT, but hey, when did ARKB ETF come out? ARKB was launched on January 10, 2024. So barely a year and 3 months ago. So these weren't around in 2023, these ETFs, the ARKB ETF specifically. It wasn't around back then when I was swing trading Riot and Mara stock to make money off of the Bitcoin movement. But not that now they exist, now they're here. So I kind of just figured like, wait, well, there's risk in the market already as is. The less risk factors we have to be concerned about, like why not, right? Like why not move over to ARKB? Because there's no earnings. I even asked ChatGPT just for the sake of you guys, so you can see like I'm not joking. Bitcoin doesn't have earnings. When have you heard, hey, Bitcoin's earnings coming up? Oh no, like there's no earnings. There's no CEO behind it. Whereas Mara and Riot stock, they're a company. They do have a CEO behind it. They do have earnings. And sometimes they can have bad earnings or something happens and they disconnect from Bitcoin's movement. And the worst thing that can happen is obviously it disconnects and just never recovers. So that's always that risk is always there. But we can just remove all that by simply buying ARKB. ETFs themselves do not have earnings. Does Bitcoin have earnings? No, Bitcoin does not have earnings. Does Bitcoin have a CEO? No, it does not have a CEO. Can Bitcoin dilute shareholders? They cannot dilute shareholders. Does that make sense? Like, we remove all that nonsense, the earnings, the CEOs, we get all rid of, we don't got to worry about any of that. The only thing we have to worry about is Bitcoin itself going higher. At that point, the only risk factor is Bitcoin itself just decides to tank and start reversing and just go to zero, I guess. And then we would see ARKB reflect that as well because it followed the ways. It follows it one for one. So it's just about getting rid of those risk factors, right? It comes at a cost, yes, of less percentage return, but I'm here to make money with as little risk as possible. That should always be the goal. Like, if I can make money while having as little risk as possible, why not, right? Yes, the trade-off is I make less, but hey, 30 to 50% is still 30 to 50%. There's nothing to scoff at, 30 to 50%. And I know some of you put like 50K in here. So you put 50K, wouldn't it be better to take the 50%, make the 25K, and all you did was sit on it, not have to worry about earnings, not have to worry about, a CEO of Bitcoin saying something. You don't got to worry about any of that. You just, hey, as long as Bitcoin continues to go up, I'm going to make money. And Bitcoin, like NVIDIA, just continues to go higher on the yearly time frame. And I would expect it to continue to do so. We wouldn't assume otherwise. If a stock just continues to go up, we would expect it to continue to go up, right? Especially after showing you all those patterns. We still have to question whether we're going to get a double top or if we're just going to skyrocket higher. I think we're going to go higher, but we'll see what happens. Nothing's for certain. In fact, if we do get a double top and we tank, now you know it's just a dip opportunity. Like, this was a dip opportunity. Everyone thought it was the end of the world. Oh no, it's at 15K. Oh no. And look what happened. You always want to buy the fear. Let the stupid ones sell. Buy their fear. So if we do get a double top, hey, take it. You know to take advantage, not to be scared. If we just skyrocket higher, well, we still win. It's a win-win when you have that kind of mentality. And again, on the yearly chart, what does it keep doing? It just keeps going higher. And it's been doing this for over a decade, I believe, because Bitcoin has been around for longer than 2017. The charts only show up until 2017. So it just continues to go higher. And we're not going to assume it's going to do otherwise until it shows us that. But for the time being, this one's a winner. It's up to you how you want to play it. I just simply rotated my money into something that removes all those other risk factors. And I'm content. Like, this is awesome, because too many people were messaging me. Way too many people were messaging me on Twitter and leaving comments on YouTube saying, hey, even in Discord, sending me messages like, hey, and on Patreon, hey, they kept asking me about Riot Earnings. Riot had earnings, and everyone was like really concerned about it. Not everyone. The smarter ones know, like, not to whatever, it doesn't mean anything. But a lot of people who are less experienced, they saw earnings coming up for Riot, and they were like, oh no, what's going to happen? What if it tanks like APLD? Oh no. And I'm just like, huh? Like, that's when I realized, like, they're making a good point. What if it does have bad earnings and just tanks like APLD? That's true. So, you know what? That's when I figured, let's just remove those risk factors completely by buying the ETF. So, and that's exactly what I did. So nothing has changed. I still believe in Bitcoin. We just removed all those risk factors. And that's just being smart. You want to make more return, stick with Riot, stick with Mara. If you want to make more percentage return, absolutely. Nothing has changed. Riot had good earnings. It literally doubled its revenue, I believe, if I recall. In fact, it pulled back and tanked. Let me show you the 3-minute time frame. Now let's go to the 5-minute. So let's show you here. It tanked in after hours, right? It had earnings, dropped to 730, and then it rocketed to 8.810. So I think people were way too concerned. Like, they couldn't. It's like too many people were bothering me about the earnings, and I'm like, huh? Just companies are going to have bad earnings and good earnings. No company has good earnings forever. Everyone's going to have bad earnings at some point. So I was a little like, huh? Like, a little confused. Like, it's had bad earnings. This thing has been around since 2019. No, 2019. Well, according to the Moomoo chart, it's had plenty of bad earnings, and it still continues to just go sideways. So I don't know why people were so concerned about it. I think Mara earnings are coming up, so I'm sure people are going to be concerned again. If you just don't want to be concerned about earnings and all that, this is why I moved over. Just know it comes at the cost of more potential gain. So it's up to you how you want to play it. Up to you. And there's plenty of Bitcoin mining ETFs. ARKB isn't the only one, but I go with ARKB because it follows Bitcoin like literally T for T. Bitcoin at 120K, ARKB at $120, which is a 20% move from where I bought it, and I think a little over 20%. Whereas Bitcoin when it moves 20%, the Bitcoin miners can move like 50 to 100%. So it's kind of like, that's just, again, that's the trade-off. So that's it. I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to address those concerns. I've never been spammed with so many messages asking me like, oh no, Riot Earnings, what do you think is going to happen? What if it goes down? Or what if it goes up? Like, you know, people were scared. I've never received that many messages, and I'm like, huh? Just okay, fine. Let's move over to ARKB. If you want to follow me one for one, move over to ARKB. Move over to the ETF, and you can remove those risk factors completely. You don't have to. You can sleep good at night knowing, hey, as long as Bitcoin keeps going up, I keep making money. I don't got to worry about no CEO saying, hey, Bitcoin is trash. Hey, we're pivoting from Bitcoin into real estate. Like, you don't got to worry about, no NVIDIA CEO saying, hey, Bitcoin is it's still going to be an asset that doesn't, whatever. Like, you don't got to worry about any of that. So there you go. This is for the people that want to sleep good at night. I'm going to sleep good at night. I'm glad I moved over. Honestly, I should have done this before. But again, the ARKB ETF came out when? Literally a year ago. And I wasn't really aware of it until recently. So it's not until recently that I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just move over to the ARKB, right? At the end of the day, I want the exposure to Bitcoin without buying Bitcoin itself. ARKB offers that. And just like Bitcoin, no earnings, no CEO, none of that. So that's it. That's it. I'm not going to continue to repeat myself. I'm just going to keep on the table telling you. And don't blame me. I'm going to say this right now before I end it. Don't blame me if you decide to go with the riskier Riot, Mara, CLSK, and the many other Bitcoin mining stocks. Don't be upset if those things tank while Bitcoin continues to skyrocket and you're holding a bag on Mara or Riot 50%. Meanwhile, I'm making money because I bought what? The ETF that follows Bitcoin. T for T. So just throwing that out there. Know what you're holding. You're taking a lot more risk by holding Riot and Mara. And I have noticed that when the market tanks and Bitcoin is skyrocketing, when that disconnect happens, when crypto is skyrocketing and the stock market is tanking, ARKB doesn't care. ARKB doesn't care that the market is tanking. It follows Bitcoin. That's just something to think about. And that's it for the video.
Patience and knowledge, the lessons are clear. Swinging these trades year after year.